And now he's currently on leave as president of Metro Hartford Alliance, Griebel.
Thanks, Dan. Good evening, everyone. And I think we're not only sitting in alphabetical order. I have a feeling, knowing everybody's birthdays, we're sitting in ascending age. So my slogan tonight is vote for the old guy. Briefly, I live down the road in Simsbury. I've been my background briefly is I went to Dartmouth College, taught school in Worcester for several years, coached sports. Went to work for what was then Bank of Boston for over 22 years. Came down here, for those of you familiar with Society for Savings, when we acquired that bank. Worked for a couple of years at McDermott Corporation in Waterbury. For the last 9, as Dan said, have been with the Metro Hartford Alliance. During the time here, I've also served on a variety of boards, from the Bushnell to Northwest Catholic High School. Coached sports here in the area, including against teams here in Canton and Avon. We've had a great experience living here. Simply say, why do you run it, having never run before? What causes you to throw your hat in the ring? Quite simply, just to play off of what you've already heard, we're all concerned about the future of this state and the diminishing opportunities that people have, both those who are working today as well as young people who are looking to come into the workforce. So we've benefited from this state, and I feel the obligation, like everyone else, to give back and make sure that the strengths that we have in this state are maintained and leveraged for the current people working today as well as those coming in the future. I said the other day in an announcement that Obama mentioned that Washington suffers from a deficit of trust. I think the state of Connecticut suffers from a deficit of confidence. Confidence by the business community in the future, confidence by individuals in their future here. And I think it's critical that the leadership, or the governor providing leadership, that we restore that confidence. So let me just briefly, in the time allowed, talk on 3 basic themes. One about thinking big, secondly about speaking candidly, and third about acting decisively. In the area of thinking big, I think the governor has to be the Chief Economic Development Officer, the Chief Business Development Officer, the Chief Opportunity Officer for the state. And something you've already heard up here, that means going out and visiting businesses on a regular basis of all sizes, understanding what their needs are, trying to make sure we recruit the businesses that are here to stay here, going out nationally. There are governors that come into this state and recruit our business. I said if we don't have a hungry governor, in Connecticut, there are 49 others that are happy to eat our lunch. So it's important that the governor get up every day and understand, reach out to businesses. You can't do it in the corner office. There has to be that marketing component, that recruitment component that's critical to getting the businesses that are here today to understand, of all sizes, why they should stay here and bringing others in. Mike made the point about recruitment. I think going over to Europe periodically, to Germany and UK, for example, on a regular basis is an important part of reaching out. I'd also say that under the area of thinking big, we have to understand how we're going to invent. What is it that government should do? And I would say one of the things that government should do in the economic area is provide the right infrastructure, transportation among them. And one of the things I've said and will continue to say is we need to find a way to replace about $250 million that was taken out of our Transportation Investment Fund when we cut the gasoline tax 9 years ago. It needs to be we need to find a way to get that back in so we can repair our roads and bridges. We can have the mass transit we want. And we have to find a way to lock that money away from the general fund so it can go into the infrastructure. Similarly, we need to work very closely with UConn, for example, in the medical school, to make sure that medical school attains top-tier status, that we leverage the hospitals in this area so that healthcare can be a real economic driver, not only as a quality of life asset. Number 2, under speaking candidly, everybody's talked about the budget. I think there's specific things that we have to go after, and I'm prepared to talk about those now as we go forward. In the area of state employment, yes, we do have to look seriously at the number of people. Our population has been essentially flat for 30 years, while our employment growth, state employment growth, has gone from roughly 40,000 to 55,000 that Mark mentioned. But also the cost of those employees have to be dealt with in terms of the benefit packages. I've mentioned before we have to look hard at whether we should move our state. We should look hard at what to move our state employee benefit packages from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan. If you're in the private sector and you have a benefit plan at all, I'd be willing to bet a dollar to your nickel that you have a defined benefit plan, that you don't have a guaranteed health plan and a guaranteed pension plan along the lines we have. Those add significant costs structurally to our deficits that have to be addressed. I've said we need to look at our higher ed system. We have a great University of Connecticut. We have a great Central Connecticut State University system. Do we need to have 2 administrative systems? Are there opportunities to pull those together? So I look forward, in the areas of acting decisively, I think there are things that a governor has to do. Yes, you take ideas in. Yes, you get the private sector and others to give you those ideas, but ultimately, you're the one that has to go and enact those actions and campaign hard for them. So I look forward to working with all of you as we go forward. Look forward to earning your support and moving forward to make sure that we have a much more pro-business environment starting next January.
And now the first of our two questions. And our candidates will each have 2 minutes to answer. We hear a lot that health care is a big drain on our state budget. Do you believe that the state government, sustenance, was passed last year, do you believe it is the right vehicle to deliver health care to state citizens and is cost effective?
Thanks very much, Dan. I agree with everything that's been said in terms of the sustenance program. Let me talk about this from an opportunity standpoint. I think health care, as I said a minute ago, is one of our great opportunities in here when you look at the number of health care insurance companies that are here. The fact that we've got 2 top-tier medical schools, or we hope we do in UConn and Yale. The investments that both those institutions have made, the opportunity to bring more research dollars in here. I think the way that healthcare has to be looked at is as an economic driver. And currently at the Alliance we have a healthcare working group that's looking at 4 major areas. We do need to put e-health information system in place. Looking at the way costs are eating up our hospitals and driving up costs in the healthcare insurance area, we have to look at some creative ways to bring those costs down so that for those of us who are in the private pay area, it's more affordable, and that we can continue to bring high-quality care here. So in addition to agreeing with everyone that's been said about the state staying out of the healthcare system, I think where the state can play a constructive role is leveraging the assets we have in the healthcare arena, being more creative as how we bring both the hospitals, the docs, the insurance companies, and the research capabilities into this area, where we can work together on both controlling costs, making healthcare more affordable, and driving the high quality up. One of the things I just wanted to touch on in my first comment is the opportunity for greater research dollars that can come into this area. If it's done on a more collaborative, collective basis, it will do 2 things. Increase the quality of care, ideally reduce the quality of care, and bring jobs here as well.
Thank you, Oz. We hear a lot on our talk show in the afternoon on the Talk of Connecticut, callers calling the program, Save in the Morning on the Brad Davis broadcast. It's okay when a candidate talks about reducing taxes or reducing the size of government, but what are the specifics? So, to that end, that is our second and final question to our candidates about reducing state government.
I think I'll just repeat a couple of things that I said earlier. First of all, I think this is probably at least a 4-year issue. I don't think you're going to solve everything and bring everything under control within the first 2 years. There are significant issues that we're facing fiscally that are going to require a lot of hard work, of bringing people together to talk and analyze issues and bring solutions to the table. But I'll repeat 3 of them. I think I've said these earlier. I'll just repeat them. One, we have to ask the unions back at the table, have them back at the table to talk about everything from work rules to the cost of the benefit packages that I mentioned earlier. This is really serious things, and there's not to demonize anyone. There are a lot of great folks in the state government, but the cost of those total packages and the number there need to be talked about seriously. That would be one at the top of the list. I mentioned the idea of looking hard at things like consolidating entities and the higher education system I mentioned earlier. Do we need 2 hierarchies to run some very high-quality schools? But you saw yesterday that the UConn board is likely to increase tuition room and board by, I think it's 6%. Are there different ways that those costs can be controlled by eliminating some of the infrastructure? A third example I would use is really how can we use municipal aid in a constructive way to ensure that we're looking at more regional delivery of municipal services. This is not just a state budget problem, and those of you in town government know, and Mark knows it better than anybody up on this platform, this is a municipal issue as well. And if we have 169 of everything and not look at how we can consolidate and deliver services more efficiently, we're missing a tremendous opportunity. So those are 3 examples of things that I would put on the table and actively and aggressively explore.
Thank you, Oz.